All right, what is up, guys? Welcome to Gridiron Aficionado. As always, I'm Ace, joined by my wonderful co-host, Manny Matsakis, the longtime coach and former NFL player. Actually, I don't know if you guys know that if you haven't checked out his Wikipedia page. But today we are coming at you. We are here to answer the question, what do fans see, what is actually happening, and what to look for going forward. The aficionado angle is to help you understand better the game that you're watching so that you can be less frustrated and more understanding of what you're seeing on the TV. With that, Manny, how you doing this week?
I'm doing fantastic, Ace. We're having so much fun and getting so many people excited about what we're doing. The YouTube channel's rolling. Everyone's really super fired up about Gridiron Aficionado and what's on the horizon.
Oh yeah, and after last week, I felt like we hit a stride super early. For second episode, I felt like we really hit it. I'm loving everything we're seeing. But this week, what we want to tackle, coach, is game management, because that is probably one of the most frustrating things that fans are watching during a game. They're questioning, they don't understand at points, and it can just frustrate you as a fan. So I thought that we would get into that. And with that, I have a clip here about that shows the Miami Dolphins and some interesting game management that I'm sure when the Miami fans were watching thought that was completely mishandled by the coach, but maybe you can give us a little bit of insight on it. So here we go.
False start.
Offense under 30s. 5-yard penalty.
First down. They call it on the fullback, Alec Ingalls, who's not happy with the call and not quite sure how we're getting that. That looked like normal motion just to went across the formation. That'd be an interesting one for them to parse. Walt Anderson in charge of the officials. They'll be parsing that one back in New York, but that one seemed like normal movement to me by Miami. The action was in the interior line, Jason, to me. Whether it was Daquan Jones or whether it was against the Miami Dolphins. Wow, and now Miami has called a timeout. So before we've even had a play from scrimmage, we've had a false start and a timeout. Remember that play against Baltimore? This is what we're seeing right now, the lingering of that 4th and 1 against Baltimore.
Oh my goodness. Ace,
I found a
that's
blunder.
frustrating. I'll tell you what, you're a fan. From a fan's perspective, you're sitting there looking at this. It's total chaos. What the hell's going on? We're trying to see, like, this is, if you're a Dolphins fan, you're completely like, get rid of this guy. What are we doing? And I guess it was prophetic because they did. But you start to think about this. What is happening is here's a situation. They get a penalty at the beginning. Everyone's freaking out, including the head coach. And then somehow something got stabilized and he says, let's call a timeout. So it's okay. Number one, let's think about this from a coach's perspective. When you see chaos, just like Bobby Knight used to do this in basketball, shit's going wrong, his team's it's bleeding, he will call a timeout and you'd think, why is he doing that? It's to course correct things. So from a coach's perspective, that's what's really happening here. It's like, how can we get this fixed? And we know how valuable timeouts are, especially at the end of the half. They weren't able to get that back. But in the end, if you don't start off well, that's the biggest issue here. So I think I can understand from a coach's perspective, but there's one thing that really gets me because I know most NFL teams script their first plays. They know what they're going to do. It's a sequence. And I think that from a coach's perspective, he did not do a very good job of getting those guys locked in because you shouldn't have those types of mental errors and have to burn the timeout.
Yeah. And I think it's important to realize that while the timeout looked like just the cherry on top for the absolute blunder, that just dismantling of the offense there before a play even went, it actually was the only good thing that Mike McDaniel did there was let's take a blow, let's sit here and let's get everything back into order.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure Miami Dolphin fans were absolutely understanding of and totally saw in the moment.
I don't know. Yeah, I got you. Okay. Got it.
So we already have a nice aficionado angle there. Let's get into our first segment, our best segment, been there, coached that. So this segment is just where our, what do we say, our resident head coach, Manny Matsakis,
Yeah.
This is where our head coach gives us, we give him a question, and then he gives us the head coach answer, the things that we aren't looking at as fans that we don't see on television because he has been there and coached that. Question 1. Did you have a strategy for timeouts going into games that you wanted to try and keep with? Like you think of Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, they have their 3 timeout rule at the end of half and the end of game. Did you have something like that, or was it entirely situation based?
For me, a lot of it depended on the team I was coaching, right? So if I had a more veteran team, which is what you alluded to, but Brady and Belichick always had that 3 timeout rule, I was more leaning towards that. But if I had a young team, especially a young quarterback, my philosophy on timeouts was number one, defense. I don't use timeouts for defense unless it's tragic and we got to stop the bleeding. That's about the only time I do it. But as far as the rest of it goes, it's more getting guys locked in. So if you got young guys making mistakes and so forth, and you need a reset, that's how I would handle it, and that's always been successful. So it's not one case works for everybody, but a lot of it is it's case by case specific on who's your team, who are you coaching, what's going on there. That's a big piece of that. And then as I look at timeouts, you want to be able to utilize that time really well because who are you talking to? Who is talking to whom? So I've always been the offensive coordinator on my team. I made sure I called a timeout. We actually had a system that told, look, if I want to talk to one guy, let's say it's the quarterback, then I just would bring one hand to me. If I want to bring the whole team over, I would do two. So I'm not screaming or anything. It's literally the guys know the signal, quarterback, everybody. And then I could get in, get all the logistics taken care of, and we're good to go.
Okay. Well, that kind of helps feed into my second question then, because my second question is going to be how much did the tempo and the tempo from the other team, how much did that affect your game management? How much did that affect the way that you handled the game? Because I know coaches will do things specifically, they have their own style, but how much did
Mhm.
you let the tempo of the other team dictate that?
Quite a bit. What I used to do is we would have what we call pace charts, right? So I had one guy in the box. It was like analytics before analytics. And I still do this today. So we, during a drive, the guy's a stopwatch. I actually learned this when I was with the Philadelphia Eagles in a preseason game. No, here's what it was. I was in Philly with Ted Marchibroda, and I was in the press box with him, and we were watching a USFL game, the Philadelphia Stars, coached by Jim Morris Sr.
Oh, wow.
And what was cool about it was that Coach Marchibroda was sitting there because he knew I wanted to be a coach. So he would show me, he would get a stopwatch out and he would say from one play to the next. And then he would chart how many plays in a drive, how long did it take for a team to execute this. And then there was a mathematical formula. So you could start to, as the game goes along, you could get into, oh, holy smokes, I know how many plays are going to be left in the half. So now I can tell when do I want to slow it down. So I would actually use offensively, and I would teach our defense the same thing. We were either in a hurry up mode or in a slow down mode, not what you normally see today, which is in the middle. So if the pace chart said hurry up mode, that was the way we were on offense, or slow down mode because I wanted to be the team that had the ball last at the end of the right before the half.
Mhm.
Defensively, yes, we did the same thing. We knew if we wanted to get things going faster, and let's say a defensive guy is tackling somebody or he's got the ball, we would have our guys pick up the ball, hand it to the officials so they would get the clock set faster. And those
Yeah.
little 10 seconds of saving time are gold because the team that has the ball last in this right before the half, especially if you defer and get the ball again, you got an extra drive in the game, and that could win you the game.
I can't believe you brought math into football right now in that capacity. I feel like I was watching Moneyball, but with a football.
Money
That's
ball.
really cool. I never considered literally trying to get the pace so that you have a better idea of the length of a drive, of being able to predict kind of the end of a half or a game. That's cool.
It's amazing because just to just go on a slight tangent for a moment, Ace, as I actually learned this when I was publishing American Football Quarterly, my original football magazine. And a guy had reached out to me. He was like a mathematical genius from MIT, and he had written a white paper on clock management. So he had all these formulas, and I'm sitting there, what is this? And he actually came to my office in Emporia, Kansas, and we went right through it all. He was a former military, army guy, and he wrote the book on it. And I'm like, and I had that way before anybody else because I got the initial writings, and he taught me a lot about that. And then I linked that to what Coach Marchibroda showed me, and it was golden. I would win games, and people were like, "How did you do that?" It's almost like I was a marionette. I was
Man,
working it, and it worked out great.
that's really cool. I would absolutely nerd out if I had that book, that
Yeah,
white page that he had. That would be super cool. Dang. Okay. Well,
absolutely.
question 3 for you is more of a situational thing. So, specifically with punting, when the analytics say to go for it, why sometimes do coaches choose to punt? Which I know from a fan perspective is the most frustrating.
Yeah, I know. You're talking to a guy that I actually have when I was coaching Division II football, I had the record for NCAA least punts in a season. So I think I had 11 punts in 10 games. That was it. But I do get it. I see what's happening here. The fan sees this. It's old school thinking. This guy, what the hell's he doing? He's punting the
Mm.
ball and he should be going for it on 4th and 1 at midfield or something, right? So part of it is I notice the teams that have great defenses, they're really just handling risk management. They think, you know what? If I punt the ball, put them in bad situation, right? Then my defense can get me that ball back and I'll be in a better situation than I was right there. So it also, as a fan, when you see that, just watch how the defense responds after the punt. It gives those guys a ton of juice. It's everybody's always like, go for it, but the defense can take over a game when they get a 3 and out, and all of a sudden, holy smokes, that coach was right in doing that. So it's not one size fits all once again.
Yeah, that's true, especially from a defensive standpoint. They probably feel that trust from the coach, which gives them that
Absolutely.
energy, like you're
Yeah.
saying, to come in and putting it on their back. Where it's,
Well,
no, I'm not folding. I'm just trusting that side of the ball.
you're right, Ace. Just another slight tangent here. As I was coaching guys, what I noticed was you want to give your offense like a lot of confidence to go for it in certain situations, even if you don't get it. All right. So
Hmm.
there's that side of it too. So I know when I had an offense that might be like struggling, but I think that they needed confidence to get better throughout the season. I would be going for it at bizarre times, but I always had a great defense. So if we got it, great. If we didn't, no sweat. We just moved ahead.
Oh, okay. So sometimes in the situation, the play call wasn't based specifically on where you were on the field or
No
the down a distance. It was more thinking of the game as a whole, the
apology.
the mental part. Okay.
No question. Yeah.
Okay. You definitely have been there and coached that because those were some pretty interesting answers there. I didn't know if I had cool enough questions, but I think we made them cool enough. There you go.
Yeah. You did. Absolutely. Awesome.
All right. So, if you watched the last episodes, you know that that brings us to our next segment, which is the state of the game.
Yeah.
Now, the state of the game is when we go from the microscope, we back up and we look at the whole view. So, we go from just game management to overall different situations. Now we're looking at game management as a whole.
Yeah.
So, my question for you with the state of the game is, do you think with the rising importance and emphasis of social media and media's opinions as a whole, that it is shortening the leash that ownership and management have on a coach, thus changing the way coaches go about game management?
It's happening. We see it in college, we see it in the pros. It's happening all the time. And honestly, I'm even seeing it in high school because what's happening right now is social media has such an influence on owners, on athletic directors, in college and high school, they see what's going on. So even though some coaches, they put the blinders on, say, I don't pay attention to this, it doesn't matter. Your players pay attention, everybody else pays attention, and you're going to feel it, even though you're not putting your phone up and seeing what's on X, right? So there's no doubt that it changes the psychology of the game for the coach, the play caller, depending on the dynamic of your team. Because I've seen guys go out there and blow clock management, put themselves in bad situation only because I know the outside noise is getting to these guys. And now these coaches are managing games against themselves and they're losing because of that. So I think as a coach, I look at it as like you should know what's going on, but you want to make sure that you're the steady force and really giving the message out there that you want to create. The coaches that don't create the narrative are the ones that ultimately are getting fired. And I think you can control the message. Just keep putting in order and you'll be fine.
I think it's interesting. And this kind of ties back to a previous episode where we talked about coaches playing not to lose.
Yeah,
We
right.
specifically talked about Dave Aranda. And as a Baylor fan, I'm well aware that online the discourse is very negative. And so,
Yeah, well, wait till Dave comes on the show. That's going to be interesting.
yeah, once we talk to him, and then I probably won't bring up all the negativity. But
Absolutely not. He's a good
when
guy.
we're talking about these coaches and are they playing not to lose, and then also it starts to get into your head, is it because they're hearing the noise? Is it because they're hearing what people are saying and they're trying to change that narrative after it's been written?
Gotcha. Yeah. And I think that's what's happening here. As we shift more towards what we're thinking about with the game today, as you're watching games, if it's NFL season, the UFL season, the amazing Continental Football League this summer, any of that kind of stuff, don't just watch the play. Because look, the space between the plays dictates what's really happening. And that's when games are actually managed. And if you just start noticing that you're no longer watching like a fan, you're watching like a coach, that is how you can become a true gridiron aficionado.
Oh, dang. Was that the aficionado angle right there?
Evidently, it just came out. I couldn't help
I was going to
myself.
say we didn't even announce it yet. Oh my gosh. No, I
sometimes
agree.
you just got to go with the flow, my man.
That's what we said, the situational, that sometimes the podcast management is situational. If you feel it, you got to roll with it. I like it. I think that this episode, we specifically tackled game management and we talked about what is a fan seeing, what is frustrating them, what is actually happening, and then what to look for going forward. I hope that, especially when it comes to a punt, when you want them to go for it, or a timeout. When you think that a coach is wasting a timeout, but then realize what's happening. Like in that original clip with Mike McDaniel, he called the timeout because he wanted his team to come back together. And he also wanted to get clarity on the penalty from the referee. There were a lot of things he needed to do, and he didn't want to just go forward in that game, not knowing what the players had done wrong to get the penalty, not rushing the first drive of the game, setting a bad tempo, and getting your first drive can set the tone for the entire game. So things like that really can help understanding when people are watching these games so that maybe it is a little less frustrating. Maybe you feel like you understand the coach a little bit more. Maybe you have a little bit more fun watching the game. Because I know that sometimes I watch Cowboys fans all the time. They're not having a good time at all the whole time. I'm like, why do you even watch this?
You're throwing shade on the boys. What are you doing?
I have to, man. I live in Texas and I'm not a Cowboys fan, but it's just, I think that this kind of insight can help relieve the frustration, can help relieve the stress and agony of some fans for some teams.
I'm with you, my man. Love it.
There you go.
Good.
With that, that brings us to the end of our episode. We have nailed the aficionado angle. We have gone over game management. And all that's left to do is for you guys to go hit that like and subscribe button so that you can join the conversation every week and come learn just a little bit more about the game we love than you knew before. And then remember to go on our website and hit that newsletter so that once this magazine, this ginormous, impressive, fun magazine that we are putting together comes out, that you will be able to receive one.
And you know what, Ace, just to wrap this baby up, this is for you right there. And it's look, man, you're the one, the aficionado. You love the game enough to understand it. We're here to help you connect with it and have a wonderful time and be really the life of the party anywhere you are, because you're just going to know the inside of the game at a different level.
There you go. I love it. Hopefully, you will be the life of the party, and hopefully, this episode is the life of the party for you. We hope that you guys are enjoying it. We enjoy doing it. And until next time, I've been Ace. That's been Manny. We'll see you guys next episode.